Hi there, I am the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I have the amazing Adam Belak. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. Now, as viewers, whether you're somewhat new to the show or you've been here for longer, know I normally put as a background the hobby of my guest. And people who are looking at this at the moment might think your hobby is flying, which admittedly it could very well be flying, but there is a very specific reason that I have this on. You see, if you can see, this says,
Iberia.
it says Iberia. Very good. And for people who don't know, Iberia is a region in Europe. And the reason that I've got Iberia is I am in awe of you, not specifically of the area, Iberia, but of you, Adam, you, and some other people, because over the last couple of years, albeit somewhat virtual, now getting back to in person, there have been a wide number of conferences that have happened. Literally, as we sit here recording a week ago or so, there was Power Platform Orlando, there is Dynamics Con, there is a variety of other conferences happening shortly as well. There was the Nordic Summit, a wide number of things. Scottish Summit was in the summer, some are more well known, some less well known. And all of these conferences have one thing in common. They all generally speak English. English speakers go to it. Occasionally there are some tracks, right, in some other languages, but usually it's English focused, right?
Absolutely.
But you and a couple of others who I know looked at it and went, you know something, you're going to run a conference. Lots of people think about running conferences and leaving aside the logistics of it, but you thought, you know something, you're not just going to do it in English. Nah, that's too easy to do a conference in one language. And you thought, because of where you're based, you could do Spanish. And then you thought, nah, that's going to be too easy. English and Spanish, two languages? Nah, way too easy. Why don't you tell us how many languages you're running this conference in?
Well, technically, you're completely right. Thank you for the nice introduction of the project. Now we are running the whole conference in three different languages since we are based correctly in Iberian Peninsula, which includes Portugal and Spain. But as you mentioned, 99% of these conferences are run only in English. So now for us, it's only English and only Portuguese and only Spanish. So it's quite challenging to organize all of this in three different languages because many people look only at the conference as itself, as sessions, as speakers, as topics, but it's also contracts, it's suppliers, it's partners, it's sponsors. Yeah, it's quite a hassle, especially if you speak only one of those languages fluently.
And just for clarification, we're not talking here about an English conference with like 5% in a different language, right?
No, we are genuinely aiming on complete balance of those languages because we would like to introduce this market of Portugal and Spain, and we are genuinely aiming on the balance. I'm a little bit realistic. I don't think we're going to achieve the balance on the first conference. It's not going to be 30, 30, 30. But yes, it's going to be much more than 5 or 10% of different languages.
So I have to ask, right? Because people who go and organize conferences take a look at the conferences that have already been organized and speak to the organizers there and hear about some of the challenges. How did you come up with this concept of three languages? What made you decide to go for it?
Well, the idea of just this topic of languages is nothing but logical. Not only location-wise, because me and Kaila, which are actually organizing all of this together, are living in here. We would love to keep living in here. This part of Europe is astonishingly amazing place to live. But it is only logical, not only because of the location of Portugal and Spain, but because of companies, businesses, and people from all over the world. Spanish and Portuguese language is a worldwide language.
That's true.
Many English-speaking people consider only English as very widespread language, but Portuguese and Spanish is widely spoken in the world, and many companies are trying to penetrate to Europe through Portugal and Spain because it is at first by the language barriers much easier for them, but also by the legislative. Legally, there is so many advantages for people from Brazil, for companies from Brazil to come to Portugal, even work permit-wise, visa-wise, and everything. And we did genuinely try to get the market as wide as possible. And that's how the three languages became necessary for the summit.
That's amazing. And you mentioned Brazil, that obviously the South American continent, you know, Spanish and Portuguese are both two very strong languages that are present there.
Exactly. We honestly, I have to admit, we did underestimated the Brazilian market completely. It was somewhere in the back of the mind for eventual next events, next years. But we automatically, since the beginning, there was the first feedback we started to receive was from Brazil, not from Portugal, not from people that we know in here, but from Brazil, from Brazilian market. So then
Got
it became another 2 weeks of more work and more research to actually include it, and it did happen. And now it genuinely seems like we will include quite some people from South America also.
Nice. Nice. So when is it taking place, and is there a call for speakers open?
Well, the entire summit will be hosted right here in Algarve, which is the best looking region of Portugal, right down on the south. Specifically, it's going to be a town called Olhão. Olhão is a super beautiful little chill out town, super authentic. It's a beautiful venue with a 5-star hotel. Venue is able
Nice.
to hold about thousands of people, which we are aiming on. So it's not even the smallest conference. And yeah, that's where it's gonna be. It's gonna be by the end of April, which is a perfect timing because the weather is already beautiful in here, and yet the season is not in here. So even price-wise, even by the combination of amount of people, amount of available hotels, and everything is possible to make it happen. It's a good timing for that. Yes,
Very
call for
nice.
speakers is fully open. Now we are having already nearly 200 sessions submitted, which is
Wow.
awesome. It is actually absolutely awesome. We have call for speakers open for another month until the end of October. So if there's anybody watching who would like to, I believe we can put there somewhere a link on
Yep.
our session. It'd be awesome.
I will put a link to the conference website in the description below.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
yeah, feel free, go ahead, hit that, and then you can check out. And if you would like to register to speak, feel free to go do so. So I mean, really amazing. We're talking about six months time or so now from the point of recording, and can't wait to see it. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute success. I mean, I've known Kaila for a couple of years now. I'm getting to know you. You're both absolute rock stars. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing.
It's gonna be awesome, not only by the conference, by the venue, but one of the biggest parts. I never had a chance to attend as many conferences as you or Killa did, but absolutely admire the idea of community and people meeting at least a couple of times throughout Europe and getting together through the days, getting the knowledge, getting the opportunities, getting the contacts, and then actually living the life and living the friends
Yep.
after the day is over. And there will be plenty of opportunities for this also. Plus, one of the best things on the day in Netherlands and UK, there's a bank holiday also on Monday, so many people will have a chance to actually stay that 1 or 2 days extra, and it's gonna be awesome.
Nice. I can guarantee you it's an experience you are not going to forget. So moving on from Iberian Summit to the Oops Factor, what do you have to share?
Well, Oops Factor. Actually, I've spent last 90 minutes thinking about Oops Factor, and I realized I should actually apologize to you a little bit because I've been looking on the Oops Factor genuinely as a negative thing, and more I was thinking about it, I figure out it's not just a negative thing. Like anytime there's an oops in life, in job, in anything, it is an oops in that proper way of being negative. But it's oops for a while. It actually gets you usually somewhere else. It usually opens something else.
Yeah.
And I've been genuinely thinking what was my oops, the biggest oops, and it just sounds super like a cliche. I will try to explain it in a way as I saw it. The oops in life is for me was always a life as itself. I believe that many people can relate to it. That you've been in that position, in that situation, the moment when everything is cool, everything is correct, everything is going into some direction, and
Yep.
then life happens. and it does hit you with something that was completely unplanned, completely out of the charts. And yeah, for a while it can be oops, but eventually the oops takes you somewhere.
Hopefully, yes. It's life can definitely throw curveballs, as I think the Americans refer to it as, at times, and it's about how you react to it and move on from it and work through it, or whatever it is.
As there is that old saying, "What doesn't kill me, better fucking run," because now I'm pissed, and that's exactly that's usually exactly my outcome, because there's a lot of motivation in exactly in the oops factor. I haven't seen too many of your interviews. I didn't want to overdo it. I've seen few, just to have
That's fine.
better. If to, I will. I'm genuinely interested in it. It's on my playlist already, but I didn't want to do it before we have this chat, because I didn't want to be too influenced by someone else.
No, that's fine. It's totally understandable. So, if you look back at your life, what sort of things would you say that you're happy to share, of course, have really sort of knocked you, through a curveball? I remember the English expression is "knocked you for six." Comes from cricket, of course. Can you point to anything, that very seriously, sort of knocked you, really weren't expecting it, and how you work through it?
I can genuinely point out two moments in my life. The third one I will save. Apparently doesn't belong here. But the first one was when I was just exactly 1 week before my 20s. I had a car accident. I fell asleep while I was driving, and I did hit a tree in about 110 kph. And that kind of like did kick me. That did. It's been beautiful 4.5 months in hospital. Been beautiful, beautiful 7 months on crutches and everything. And I physically had to learn to walk again. Like genuinely, I did broke my spine.
That's not fun to learn to walk. I've had to do that myself, and not when I was little. I may have done it a couple of years older than you were at the time, but with something. But yes, was it just you were really tired or something?
I genuinely have no idea. I don't remember, let's say, a week before and 2 weeks after. I had a double brain bleeding. So there was something happening in the brain, which I just proved myself that the human brain is absolutely amazing, because the memories have to be there. I've been conscious the entire time before coma, but the brain just blocked it. It's not there. It's not there. I have no idea. I have a brief idea what was happening through the day. Eventually, it makes sense that I've been tired, but there's also unwritten rule that most of this type of accidents happens to people very close to their home. Like you are on those last 3 miles to get to your place. You know that road, you drove it thousands of times, and you just don't pay attention. And
you're an autopilot. You turn left here, you turn right there, you go on 200 meters, and you're just not paying attention because you just know it so well. Yeah,
exactly. And I believe that there was many people very often when this topic comes to the conversation, you have the typical reaction of really, and then I have to put people a little bit into different perspective, because eventually it hurt. It does have effects, and it will have effects for the rest of my life. But I have 2 legs, 2 arms, pretty face, and I'm completely fine. I can run, but that's not not the most important thing. The most eye-opening thing in that was clearly, as it happened when I was in uni, and the most eye-opening thing was did stop the uni. Now I'm not encouraging anybody to stop studying and go into anything at all, but for me it wasn't the option anymore. I felt the way like, okay, cool. There's a bit more in real life than just going as society expects, as you are expected to do. And let's say 3 weeks after I threw away my crutches, I started my first company, and in the middle of 5.5 years, I grew up into something absolutely astonishing for 26 years old. So that was the best possible outcome I could have done from what actually happened. That was
wow.
incredible.
That's very, very impressive. So let me ask you this. You're not the only person I've spoken to, whether on this series or out of the series, who's been through major trauma, which essentially is what that is. And I've had not quite that level, but I've been through something similar myself. Rehab is not fun. Learning to walk and the pain of that is not fun. Lying in hospital, it is not fun. And you can get some really low lows. And it sometimes takes a massive amount to try and get yourself through it and self-motivate. What helped you get through those moments? What drove you through that to continue and do it rather than just lie back and essentially give up?
You might gonna be surprised by my answer. It's more than 11 years ago, so don't really recall those moments. I always try to just leave it somewhere. There was clearly family, with no questions at that point. It was clearly family who was a massive help. But to be brutally honest, my brain didn't work at the time. My short-term memory was absolutely smashed, like nothing. So I was able to watch 5 episodes of Friends for a week, just repeatedly. I was very, very happy with that. There's a lot of medication, honestly. In my country, I'm originally from Czech Republic. In my country, automatically, whenever something like this, for example, like this happens, they automatically give you antidepressants, like automatically. So your
Okay.
brain actually stable, which is a
Interesting.
massive. It has a massive help. I didn't know I'm taking those. It was a very funny story afterwards when I realized I'm taking that kind of stuff. But that actually helps, and eventually it was a bit of a shock. Let's say mentally, I've been 19 years old. I've been 94 kilos. I've been doing absolutely anything I could, and suddenly you can even sit, and you don't know when/if you will be able to. So there was a bit of a mind blowing stage, but I've been extremely lucky that all the progresses went really quick. So every single week I could see some kind of progress, and I'm the kind of person, there's a one step. Okay, cool. Let's do another one, and you just keep it
It's a
going, keep it
feedback
going.
loop. When you see you've achieved something, no matter how small, you want to do it again and you want to do better.
Exactly. And then, honestly, there was a young Slovakian nurse as an intern my department, and that was astonishing. It was absolutely. I do recall those moments because somehow she was always on the shift when I had like a major update, like when I stood up for the first time. Then I obviously started
Fancy that,
immediately.
having some motivation there for that.
No questions, like no questions. You have the right person at the right moment there, and that actually always helps massively.
Definitely. Wonderful. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and of course telling us about Iberian Summit, but story, very powerful story.
It's been just a pleasure. Well, yeah, nothing else. I was very excited to be in here a bit nervous, honestly, but yeah, it's been a pleasure.
As you've seen, no reason to be nervous at all.
As one says, it's been a business doing pleasure with you. Yes.
Indeed. So, viewers, we hope that you have. I'm not going to use the word enjoyed the episode, which is normally what I say, but you have taken some very profound lessons as well as learned about Iberian Summit. Again, if you haven't signed up to speak yet, go and sign up. Link in the description below. Feel free to take a look at the rest of the Youth Factor playlist, subscribe to the channel, take a look at the blog.
Eventually, to interrupt you, if you like to sponsor, that's also very important for us. We still have slots
sponsor.
available.
Yeah, sponsorship. The contact details, there's a contact form on the website and details around it. So yeah, sponsorship as well. Feel free. It's great. Great having your logo and stuff on it. Yeah, feel free to check out, as I said, the rest of the Youth Factor playlist, subscribe to the channel, take a look at the blog. And if you would like to come on the show, hit the link somewhere in the description below, put your details in, and I'll reach out to have you on. But above all, have an amazing day.